Hi everyone, this is the third lecture of week 5. And again, you can listen to this as an audio, and please read Genesis 27 before you listen to this lecture. As we discussed in the previous video, Jacob and Esau are twins who are so rivalrous that they emerge out of the womb fighting each other. And despite coming out second, and therefore as not the heir, Jacob, however, is determined to win family prominence and the wealth, and indeed the Abrahamic promise that goes along with that by any means necessary, even if it means taking advantage of his slightly stupider older brother. Jacob, as I discussed, in Genesis 25, first trades the birthright of Esau's for some stew. And in Genesis 27, which is what we are going to talk about today, Jacob will do something even more outrageous. He will, with the help of his mother Rebekah, thieve Esau's blessing. And Genesis 27, if you can follow along with me, begins by saying the following. Okay, Genesis 27:1. When Isaac was old and his eyes were dim so that he could not see, he called his elder son Esau and said to him, "My son." And he said, "Nay, here I am." And he said, "See, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, take your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me. Then prepare for me savory food such as I like, and bring it to me to eat, so that I may bless you before I die." Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt for game and bring it, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "Hey, I heard your father say to your brother Esau, 'Bring me game, prepare for me savory food to eat, that I may bless you before the Lord before I die. Now therefore, my son, obey my word as I command you. Go to the flock, get me 2 choice kids,'" these are goats, okay, "'so that I may prepare from them savory food for your father, such as he likes, and you shall take it to your father to eat, so that he may bless you before he dies.' But Jacob said to his mother Rebekah, 'Look, my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a man of smooth skin. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall be seen to be mocking him and bring a curse on myself and not a blessing.' And his mother said to him, 'Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my word and go get them for me.' So he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and his mother prepared savory food, such as his father loved. And then Rebekah took the best garments of her elder son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on her younger son Jacob. And she put the skins of the kids on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. And then she handed the savory food and the bread that she had prepared to her son Jacob. So in Genesis 27, we have Isaac, who is now blind and perhaps on his deathbed, ask Esau, his firstborn son, to go get him some game so that he can eat it, and then give him the blessing that's meant for the firstborn. Okay. As I noted in a previous lecture, words are, of course, not just words in the biblical universe, right? Especially when they come from a patriarch, and especially when they are near their deathbed. Okay. Rather, the words that they speak are almost like oracles. Okay. They seem to at points foretell what is to come. Okay. They are also causal. They make the things happen. And once the word leaves the mouth of the person saying them, they come back fulfilled. You can't really take them back. And so keep this in mind when you hear what happens when Esau finds out. Okay. So we're told that while Esau is away hunting, Esau's own mother, Rebekah, urges and helps Jacob, her second-born son, thieve the blessing meant for Esau, her firstborn son, by dressing Jacob up as the hairy Esau by using goat skin. Okay. That this plan is outrageous and reprehensible, even by Jacob's not super high standards, is confirmed by Jacob, who tells his mother that he is worried that he's going to be discovered and therefore then cursed by his father instead. Okay. And notice what Rebekah does, right? Rebekah reassures her son by telling him that, if there is a curse, then she will take the curse upon herself. Okay, and think about this as you read what happens. Okay, ultimately, as you'll see, though mother and son will get away with this scheme, both will probably pay a kind of price for it at the end. Now, this leads to the question of why Rebekah likes Jacob so much, and why, in contrast, I guess Isaac prefers his son Esau. And the text is never really clear about this, so we have to infer or interpret via the small clues that there are in the text, okay, which is what you always have to do when you're interpreting. It might be that each parent likes a child that is similar to them. So as we saw in the previous chapter, Rebekah is really an active go-getter, right? She's willing to like move to a whole other country to marry someone who is wealthy, who she's never seen before. And Rebekah, and as we'll find out later, her brother Laban are also very interested in wealth. Okay. Jacob then is very much like his mother. He's active, he's a go-getter, he's also interested in wealth. Okay, so maybe that's why Rebekah likes Jacob better. Okay, perhaps in contrast, Isaac likes Esau better because Esau is like himself, kind of slow, passive, right, as we've seen. They both seem to share this love of game meat. Okay, you know, and some have wondered whether Isaac also favors Esau because Esau is the heir apparent, right? He's the firstborn twin. He's the one that will really take over the family in this context, right? While maybe Rebekah favors Jacob because she also has a clue about who will be the heir apparent. And remember, Rebekah hears the oracle foretelling perhaps of Jacob's prominence, while Isaac does not. So some have wondered whether Rebekah favors Jacob because she knows, based on the oracle that she's received, that Jacob will come out first. Okay, unclear. I have my own interpretation of why each parent favors one child over another. And I'll try to go very briefly. Many times in the ancient world, twins were seen as the effect of adultery. That is two different fathers. Okay. Many times one of the fathers is divine and the other is human. So when you have twin stories, a lot of times one of the children will be the kind of a quasi-divine son, and the other will be a kind of just human, normal human. Okay. So for example, Hercules and Ephicles, just to name one, but there's like lots of these twin pairs. Okay. It might be that Isaac likes Esau because this is the son who is most like him and therefore most likely to be his actual son. Okay. While Jacob's paternity, at least to Isaac, might be a bit more dubious. Okay, and indeed, I would suggest that there are actually subtle suggestions in the text that Jacob is of divine paternity. Not outright statements, but some hints. Okay, and I'm not going to go into it any further. Like I said in the previous video, I'm working on a book on this. Okay, whatever. Okay. Anywho, going back to the story. Okay, this is what happens when Jacob shows up to now trick or thieve the blessing meant for his brother Esau. Okay, verse 18. So he went into his father and said, "My father," and he said, "Hineni, here I am. Who are you, my son?" And Jacob said to his father, "Why, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Now sit up and eat of game, so that you may bless me." But Isaac said to his son, "How is it that you have found us so quickly, my son?" And he answered, "Because the Lord your God granted me success." Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Come near that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Esau or not." So Jacob went up to his father Isaac, who felt him and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau." And he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. He said, "Are you really my son Esau?" And he answered, "I am." Then he said, bring it to me that I may eat of my son's game and bless you." So he brought it to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. And then his father Isaac said to him, "Come near and kiss me, my son." So he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his garments and blessed him. Despite some initial hesitation by Isaac, Jacob, we are told, succeeds in his ruse. Okay, and this success is odd. Okay, I mean, why the heck does Isaac, the father, trust his sense of touch over his sense of hearing? And it's so weird that the oddity of this has led some interpreters to wonder whether Isaac was either willingly playing along, he actually really favored Jacob, okay? Or maybe, some say, well, maybe God temporarily seriously blinded Isaac's senses so that God's favorite person, that is Jacob, can receive the blessing meant for the other son, okay? So, again, notice how odd that Jacob gets away with this, okay? Jacob does interestingly respond to his father's questions. Remember his father asked, how did you get this, game so quickly, and then notice that Jacob says, well, God has made me lucky. So maybe God did maybe temporarily blind Isaac. I mean, it's not good. Whatever the reason, Jacob, with the help of Rebekah, his mother, thieves a blessing meant for his brother Esau. And when Esau finds out, he, of course, is heartbroken and pleads with his father to also bless him. And Esau, interestingly, though he is the unchosen son in the biblical text, is given a really empathetic portrayal, right? Esau is almost always depicted as trying, but failing, right? He wants to marry the right women. He wants to act like Jacob, but he doesn't, right? So, I mean, there's another question here, which I won't get to, which is, how are the unchosen, the non-chosen portrayed, and why are they portrayed so sympathetically? Okay, so when Esau finds out, he's heartbroken. He pleads, he says, isn't there a blessing for me too? Right? He says, right? And his father, in response, again, you can't take back that blessing, right? However, his father, in response, does give him something, a kind of mini blessing, an alternate blessing, a kind of lesser blessing, whatever. And in this blessing, he foretells of Esau, and therefore Edom, right? Remember, Esau is Edom, a neighboring country of Israel. He foretells in this blessing how Edom and Esau will, eventually break free of the yoke and servitude of his brother Jacob. So there seems to be some political history that is kind of alluded to, right? And we do know that under David and Solomon, Edom was kind of overlorded by Esau for Esau to eventually Edom, for Edom to eventually break free. So again, this raises questions about when this stuff was edited, okay? We are told at the end of Genesis 27 that Esau, rightfully so, hated Jacob because of this and was planning to kill his no good brother as a result, okay? Almost, replaying the Cain and Abel myth. And indeed, some have argued that Cain and Abel are also twins, okay? Hence, because of all this, Jacob has to leave home. Okay? And so notice how for all Jacob's machinations, right, how they're really for naught, right? Jacob will never see his parents again. I mean, he'll see Isaac briefly when we are told that he returns to bury his father, okay? But notice how Jacob, doesn't really get to see his parents again. He will seemingly not inherit the wealth, okay, that he has tried so hard to kind of thieve or take, okay? Jacob, as I will discuss in the next video, also pays another price for what he does to his father and to his brother. Okay. And alongside Jacob, of course, Rebekah. Rebekah, too, probably paid a price for her favoritism. As I noted, Esau is pretty angry, so angry that he plans to kill Jacob, right? And then as a result, Rebekah advises Jacob to relocate to her brother's house, Laban's house, in order to wait out Esau's fury. And she tells him, when Esau's anger has died down, I will send for you so you can return. But this is not what ends up happening. As we will see, Jacob will go to his uncle's Laban's house, will end up marrying his two cousins, and he will never see his mother again, right? Indeed, we're never told when Rebekah dies, okay? For all of Rebekah's deception of her family members to help her favored child get ahead, she will be rewarded with the loss of that favored child as Jacob moves away, never to be reunited with her. And again, you see this kind of, almost a kind of comeuppance, right? Some kind of fairness being enacted, okay, in the larger narratives in the biblical